Okay, everybody say Sasquatch. All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you. In a little while here, I'm gonna, talk here for a little bit, and it's going to evolve into a little bit more information that's going to involve the items in this basket. So I'd like everybody to choose, these are little pendants, jasper pendants, and then we also have these little cards that are integrated with different consciousness technologies. So take your pick of what you'd like and pass it around. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. All right. Well, I get a lot of questions, myself and Kiwoni, where people are asking about kind of the basics of the Sasquatch, their origins, where they come from, how all this began, our connection to them. So I want to go over some of those topics here. And so the Sasquatch are really our elder brothers, humanity's elder brothers that were here on Earth long before we were. They were seated here about 200 million years ago, which was about 50 million years before humans were here. So they have a lot more knowledge and wisdom about how things are going on around here than we do. And they've also never lost their connection with the star elders that have created us all. So they have that knowledge and that wisdom that they want to share with us to help us evolve consciously. They were created in Agartha, that's like the underworld, at a time when the Earth was recovering from lots of climate changes and cataclysms and lots of different destruction and things that were happening here on the Earth. And they were seated in the area known as Lemuria, or Mu. And they were created mainly to be like the carekeepers of Mother Earth and to assist in spiritual evolution of Earth's consciousness. And so that's not, like I said, when they were here, it was before the time that the humans were, but as we know, everything is energy and life and has consciousness, so they're here to help balance that and to help keep us on track with all of that, which is where we're hopefully returning to now. Just the fact that we're having these gatherings and people are taking interest in the subject is telling me that we're on the right track with that. So, let's see. Because, Earth has experienced 5 mass extinctions throughout several million years, which has nearly eliminated all the species, before us, which were initially when the Earth was created, it was mostly a water planet, and so the first beings with real consciousness here were the fish people, or the mer people. After a long time of evolution, that went into the ant people, or the insectoid types, and then the bird people, the avians, the lizard people, the reptoids, and then finally the mammal people. And the Sasquatch were the first mammal people that were here long before us. So that's how we're all really connected to them and related to them in that sense, because we all share the same DNA. And so a lot of people that are feeling that draw and that pull to learn more about the Sasquatch, it's very likely that is emerging out of your own DNA and you're remembering that connection. The Sasquatch are here now. They're helping to protect us, help us to evolve our consciousness, help us to heal our planet, help us to heal all of the karmas, that it's been kind of this endless cycle of things that we play out generation after generation. And so now we're finally waking up enough and open enough to understand that there's interdimensional beings and all these other realms that are here to help us, that we're related to. So they're really just such a blessing to be able to tune into them and receive their help. Just a quick story here. Some of you may know that Kiwoni and I have been living in Chewelah, Washington at this place for 4 years now. And we just recently got the notice that we have to move. The owner is selling the place. And so we had till the end of October to get out. And where we live, there is not much available at all. The only things that we come up across, you know, they were huge homes that were way out of our budget, or they were like little one-bedroom apartments, and we have a family and we can't do that, you know. So it was becoming pretty stressful, and we're looking every day, almost every hour, through different listings, and you know, just getting very nervous because time is ticking down. And so finally, you know, I said, you know what, I asked the Sasquatch for their help. We told them what's most important to us to find in a home, and that most importantly, we want to be close to them. Because right now we're not living out in the woods, we're not too far, you know, we could go and visit, but we're not in there. And that's where we really wanted to be. So I said, you know what, I'm going to hand it over to the universe, hand it over to God, and ask the Sasquatch to help us. And I said, and as a matter of fact, I want our place to come to us instead of us having to find it. And I believe it was the next day, or within 2 days, that a friend sent me a link and said, hey, this place was just listed, you know, go check it out. And it happened to be exactly in the location where Kiwoni kept map dowsing, and it kept saying, oh yeah, this is where you're going to live, right in this area. And then this home pops up in that area. So we're like, oh, okay. And we checked it out. We went up there just on a whim, you know, without anybody showing us the place. A neighbor came out and introduced himself, and he's like, yeah, go and check it out. And we walked around the place, and we just felt a presence so heavy. I've never felt so watched before in my life. I'm just like, wow, just, you know, looking all around me like, can I see you? I know you see me. And so and at one moment I told Kiwoni, I was like, I feel like we have to take a selfie right now. There's me with my picture taken again. So we take a selfie, and later I get home and I look in it, and there's 2 of them that show up so clearly. Come see me later and I'll show it to you. I got it on my phone, but they just showed up really clearly. And that was a big sign to us that, okay, this is the place. And also at the same time, well, before I saw that photo, I asked them to show me a sign, you know, thank them for their support. And I said, if this is the place for us, show me a sign. As soon as I said that, immediately, I looked down on the ground, and there's this perfect outline of what looks like Patty from the Patterson-Gimlin film, you know, walking like this. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I was like, okay, that's a sign. Thank you guys. And well, sure enough, we secured the place, and we'll be moving in starting next week. So, yes, yeah, thank you. So, thank you. So those are just, you know, some of the ways that they can help. And you know, they emphasize to me quite often that we just need to ask. We forget to do that a lot, you know, like the stories that Kiwoni told today about all the healing and the help and things that they've done. Just remember to ask. They're there to help us and support us. And you know, a lot of times things are karmic matters, things that we need to work through ourselves, things that we need to resolve. But when we're really in a desperate situation and we're in a vulnerable place, they're there to really help us. So don't forget to ask your interdimensional guides when you need help like that. Let's see. So, you know, like I said, the Sasquatch were seated here on Earth to be carekeepers of Earth specifically. They're very much into, well, we know they live in nature. And they are built and made to live in raw nature. They have all these different, abilities and gifts that we don't. They're covered in hair, and they're huge, and they're strong, and, they can adapt to nature much better than we can. But they have a lot to teach us about how we can adapt to nature. They've worked, long time ago before they kind of went into hiding before humanity got too destructive. They were in close contact with some of the Native American tribes and some of the ancient peoples, ancient civilizations that they've taught them different ways of survival on Earth, telling them about, how to use the different plants and roots, or how we can, work with different animals for, our different needs and things like that. So they have a lot of knowledge, but it's really all about respect and acceptance and care and compassion. And that's one of the elements that humans have really kind of forgotten about. I mean, not necessarily the people here in this room, but we all know it, we all see it, that people are just horrible to each other. Judgmental against each other, judging people on their skin color, or their political party, or things like that, and it makes no difference. None of that. We're all one family. We're all related. We're all humans. We all look the same on the inside, and so that's what the Sasquatch really want us to remember: how we're all connected to each other, how we're connected to them and the earth, all the different interdimensional beings, and how to change our perceptions and our ways of life so that we can all co-create a much more beautiful reality together than what we have now. And even though we do see things kind of falling apart in this world, things have to fall apart in order to be rebuilt. So it's easy to get, depressed or anxious or, things like that over different things that we see in society and different things that we see happening. But just know that it is really for the higher good, and that we're able to, overcome this. And we're going to do it by doing it together. It starts within. It starts with ourselves. But the more kindness and compassion and empathy that we show towards each other, the more that's, all going to come together. We'll work together to really change this world. And so far, I see it's working pretty good. But one thing, of course, here on Earth, why it's such a struggle, is that we're under the control of the lower lords that want to see all this destruction. They want to take over our planet. They want to take over our souls, or they want to take any kind of energy that they can and use that for their own greedy purposes, malicious purposes most of the time. So just having that awareness that that is going on, even though I'm all sunshine and rainbows, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. So it's good to know that that awareness, that higher awareness, that those things are happening, and so we have to use a lot of discernment and discrimination, because there's a lot of attacks on people and energies that want to do good. So they're also there to help protect us through all of that, and they're wonderful allies, and we can ask for their help in any of those situations that, just might look potentially scary. We must collectively deprive the lower lords of their power through compassion and nonviolence, and develop ecological lifestyles that are harmless to the planet and all life forms. Because, we take advantage of a lot of different things, just what we do to different animals, what we do to the earth with the plants, and all of these different things. So, and I'm talking in general, not the people in this room, but we're able to change that, and the Sasquatch are really on board, backing us up with all of that. They've been watching over us for a very long time. Like I said, they have worked with us, some of our ancient peoples, some of our ancient cultures. And then when kind of humans and their attitudes took over, they had to retreat a little bit and not be so prevalent in humanity's life. But they've always been there watching over us and guiding those that are open-minded enough, or open-hearted enough, I guess I should say, to understand that they are much more wise than we are, and that they know how best to proceed with, you know, a spiritual life path. Yes, so that's including connecting with our own higher soul, and the Star Elders Council, since those are ultimately who we're all really related to. It's where we come from, the stars, and most people don't remember that. Most people don't even feel that connection. I think I've heard sometime somebody said that, I don't know where this data came from, but like 95% of people say that they never even look up in the sky. They don't even stargaze. They don't look up in the clouds, and that was just like so unbelievable to me, because I'm always looking up. And to think that people don't even think about where they come from, you know, but now that's really changing. So, and they really only, the Sasquatch, well, and the Star Elders as well, they really only wish to be treated with respect. So they're not asking to be worshipped or prayed to, or, you know, anything like that. It's just a mutual respect and equal relationship with each other. So, you know, there's so many different religions and different belief systems that have really taken over, and a lot of people subscribe to different ideas that are just so limited, or they feel like there's something, of course, there's a creator God source, you know, that we're all connected to, but it seems like so many people are looking for a particular savior and somebody to pray to, or somebody that's going to take care of all of their problems. And the Sasquatch are not that. They want you to know that, no, we're not going to take care of all your problems. They're your problems. You take care of them. But we'll help you. Just ask, and we'll help you. The Sasquatch do have really advanced psychic abilities, which is how they're able to communicate with us most. They do this through telepathy. They're able to read minds, remote view. They can practice hypnosis and astral projection, dematerialization, teleportation, shape-shifting, and permeating our consciousness as well. So those are just a few ways, and like weather manipulation or nature manipulation in a way, and not in a bad way, but just like they can come through as a whirlwind, or just give you a subtle sign. You know, you might ask for, you know, like I said, the little patty thing, that was a little subtle sign. Or sometimes a leaf might flow down and land in your lap, or sometimes a ladybug will go from person to person. Some of us experienced that this morning. And, you know, so they're beautiful, and they like to show us that in very subtle ways, but quite often it's, if it's not, you know, telepathy and like that, it's usually connected with nature, because we're all connected to nature. All those elements are within us, and so that's the best way to access our true selves and our higher selves, is especially spending time in nature, becoming one with it, and then you see that there really is no such thing as separation or division. It really is all one, all connected. Let's see. And so because of these abilities that they have, they've been able to avoid the destructive behavior of the human race, and also because they are so sensitive and empathetic, they feel all of the emotions and all of the thought projections that are sent their way. So when people talk about them negatively, like, oh, they're monsters, or oh, they don't exist, or, you know, especially if somebody takes a picture and they're like, oh no, that's not, you know, just any kind of negative reactions, they can feel that and it hurts them. They're very sensitive, so that's why they avoid their picture being taken, or especially why they would avoid showing any kind of proof of their existence, or the kind of proof that science wants. You know, they want bodies and bones and blood to analyze DNA and everything like that. And while some of that has been obtained by, you know, governments and things like that, they're not going to let us know about that, because the lower lords don't want us to know that we have these allies and that we have this protection and these different, you know, interdimensional beings that can help us with this, because they don't want us in our power. And that's exactly what the Sasquatch are helping us to do. So they're going to cover up this knowledge in any way that they can. Yes, well, on that subject though, not so much with the DNA extraction. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Melba Ketchum, that she's from Texas, and she has a Sasquatch genome project. And these are independent scientists, because nobody will pay for this, you know, so they've had to save up their money and really do this testing. And several people have sent in different Sasquatch hair samples. And the thing is they can't test the hair, Sasquatch hair specifically, unless it has the hair follicle attached, which is really kind of hard to obtain. But she has gotten enough, you know, specimens of that so that they were able to test it. And it has come back showing that the Sasquatch are 99.9% human, but the other factor, I guess I should just say 99% human, and the other 1% is some unknown, not of Earth DNA. And but because it's so closely related, that it's actually 100% on the maternal side, and then that extra 1% is on the paternal side. So the name that was given to them, the actual classification, is Homo sapien cognatus, which means blood relative. Yes, human blood relative. So I think that that's excellent, that at least science is acknowledging that much of it. But of course, the scientists that matter in the world just throw that out the window, because it's not enough evidence for them. But still, there are independent scientists that are working to, you know, prove some of this, just so other people are able to wake up to the fact that, yeah, they really do exist and we're really related to them. So now, you know, many people, especially people here in this room, and many of us are being contacted by the Sasquatch because they've been prepared for this on their long spiritual journey, not just this lifetime, but throughout many lifetimes. You know, probably many of us have been working on healing on some kind of level, and so the Sasquatch recognize that, and we're able to tune in and connect with that, and so they're more open to contacting us, because they can feel our hearts and our intentions, and they know that, you know, we're not the destructive, you know, the people that were around just 200 years ago even. You know, we're really changing rapidly and quickly. And even though it might look slow to us, because, well, we're only here for so many years, you know, so we measure things according to our lifespan. But really, when you look at the bigger picture of things, it's really no time at all. You know, 100 years is 5 minutes to them. So, so their connection with us, and you know, this whole shift and change in consciousness, this whole shift that Earth is experiencing, has been foreseen and planned out for a long time, that this shift of consciousness is going to happen. You know, even the Mayans did the calendar, which ended on December 21st, 2012, and that was the time, I mean, obviously it wasn't the end of the world, but it really was a pivotal shifting point. For me personally, that was the biggest shift in my reality. That's exactly at the time that the Sasquatch contacted me, was in December 2012. That's when I connected with Kiwoni, and it was just incredible. It started with a dream, and then all of these little synchronicities would just add up to show me, you know, I was having a real interest in Sasquatch, and then I just randomly made friends with somebody on Facebook who sends me a message. I don't know who this person is. He sends me a message and says, "I walk with Sasquatch." And I'm like, whoa. And I said, "Okay, tell me more." You know, and I said, "Well, don't we all walk with Sasquatch?" And so he explained a little bit more to me. And he's like, "Look, you need to look up this guy's books, Kiwoni Lapsaritis." I was like, "Okay." I write it down, wrote it on a little piece of paper, and I didn't look him up right away. But this little piece of paper kept showing up everywhere. It was in the bottom of my purse, and then it was on the nightstand, and then it was on the kitchen counter, and then it's like, wait a second, I'm not moving this. Where is this coming from? So then I was like, oh, okay, that's a sign. I better look this guy up. And, well, you know the rest of the story, I guess. So, yeah, he just told me about, you know, the Sasquatch, kind of interviewed me to make sure that I was for real and not somebody that's, you know, just playing a prank or a joke or that kind of thing. And then it really took off from there. As soon as I connected with him, then my Sasquatch guides really started making big contact with me, not only through dreams, but physically. And just the changes that I was experiencing. I was receiving all these different downloads of information. It was overwhelming in a sense. It was almost like I was reading 500 books a day, the knowledge that would just come in, and I'm like, you know, and even people saw that change in me, and some people, even though it was definitely a positive change, the lower density energies didn't see it that way. Just, oh, she's changing, and you know, that kind of thing. And so that's some of the things that we're up against, you know, as we're evolving. People that are not matched with that frequency are going to drop away. And it's important just to know and remember that, you know, that's okay. That's okay. Everything is meant to happen for a reason. And if a frequency or vibration doesn't match yours, it's okay that it goes on its own way and that you go on yours. So just follow your truth, follow your path. And as you can see, there's lots of like-minded people out there. You're not alone. I can't tell you how many people have, you know, contacted Kiwoni and I and said, "Oh my God, I had no idea there were other people out there like that knew this or that experienced that." And I was like, "You have no idea. There's thousands, and there's a whole community of them. So you're not alone. Just, you know, we all have support, and especially from the Sasquatch themselves." Yeah, so like the Sasquatch, you know, humans, we're also interdimensional beings. We have our own interdimensional nature. We're not just here in, you know, 3D, all sitting in this room. Our souls are all somewhere else in many different dimensions and levels doing different things. And, you know, so, and all of the abilities that they have are abilities that we have as well. But it's just a matter of, I don't like to say relearning them, it's more like unlearning everything that we've been taught. You know, all the BS that we think is true is not true. You know, so it's a matter of kind of unlearning that, returning to our own higher selves, our sovereign selves, standing in our truth, and working together in all of this. You know, because the average person, yeah, they're going to call you crazy, or, you know, say that, well, that person's kind of lost their mind or whatever. But we know that, well, we have this community. We have all these great allies, right?
We know we're not woo-woo.
Right, we are woo-woo.
There we are.
I'm proud to be woo-woo. Yes. So, you know, and in order to do this, to be successful with changing our world around us, humans do need to reconnect with their spiritual consciousness through nature and within ourselves to restore these psychic gifts. Well, I already kind of covered that. Let's see. Okay. So the way to begin to really heal ourselves and our collective karma is to practice unconditional love and respect and compassion, and helping one another any way that we can, and, you know, going forward with an ecological approach to things. Stop cutting down all the trees for every little thing, and, you know, stop abusing animals, and, you know, all these different things. And I don't want to go on and on about negative things, but we all know what needs to change. So, but instead of fighting them, the way to really approach this is with love. You know, and it's good to, of course, we need to stand up and defend ourselves against what we know is true, but fighting isn't the way to do it. It's not this way, that way. It's let's work together and do this. And seems that much more people are on board with that idea. So I just want to tell another quick little story here about when I first did connect with Kiwoni and with the Sasquatch. I have a guide with me. It's very close to me. His name is George. And, you know, usually they have pretty exotic names, but his name is George. And I even asked him, I said, where'd you get that name? And he goes, oh, my mother liked it. And I was like, okay, that's fine with me. And later I found out that George, or Geo, means of the earth, or, you know, something like that. I was like, okay, well, that's a pretty appropriate name then. But I was going through a hard time in life. I was going through a divorce. My young son was just diagnosed with autism. It was, you know, several different things in my life that were getting all stirred up, and, you know, and I was changing, and, you know, others weren't. And so I was feeling this need to just break out, but it was really difficult for me because of my situation, because I'm so sensitive. I don't want to hurt people. You know, all of those kinds of things. So it was a tough decision for me, you know, but I did decide that, okay, well, I have to move on with life, and I have to do what's best for me and my son. And so that's when the Sasquatch really came to help so much. They just really felt like just put a hand on my heart so that I was able to move forward with this, and gave me some real strength and motivation, because I'm, you know, I can be kind of like wishy-washy with my emotions, but this, I was just, no, I'm doing it. I have to move forward. I was just on a path looking straight ahead, and I knew that I couldn't veer off of it, and I had so much support from them, and it was really such a blessing. But I had had a dream. Actually, let me back up here a little bit. So, okay, well, when I connected with Kiwoni, I also had dreamed of him the night before I had called him. And then later, I had had a dream. This was a few months later, after we were already connected. You know, we were just a support. He was like a mentor for me. But I had a dream one evening, which I say it's a dream within a dream, because it was. And I was walking through the woods in this dream, and I was just tired and exhausted, and I had like a scratch on my leg. I just and I was lost, couldn't find my way, and I came across a cabin in the woods, and I was like, oh, good, get some help. And so I started to knock on the door, and before I could even knock, the door opened. And Kiwoni was there. And so I'd seen his picture. I knew it was him. And so he told me to come in, and made me some tea and fixed up my leg and bandaged it up and stuff like that. And in the dream, I laid down on his couch and I fell asleep. And then I had another dream in that dream. And that dream was just so incredible. I can't even really find words to describe it. But it was amazing. We were flying through space, through the cosmos. We're going through all these different solar systems and the stars, and there's this beautiful song playing. It's kind of like a human voice and a harp and like this other kind of, can't even describe it, but it was just so beautiful, all these different colors. And Kiwoni was like an angel. He had these big wings, and he had, you know, scooped me up in one of his wings, and we're flying, and I just can't tell you really how incredible it made me feel. But then I woke up from the dream, and I was back on his couch. And, you know, I was just kind of like, whoa. I looked at him, and I was about to tell him, you know, what had happened. And he goes, no, I know, I was there. And then I looked behind the couch, and there was a Sasquatch in the kitchen drinking coffee. Yes.
Yeah,
and
coffee.
I know, must have been good stuff.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, now you know your music is magic, and you have a beautiful life ahead of you. And I'm like, whoa, okay. That's cool. I didn't, you know, quite get it, but I was just shocked, you know, for the Sasquatch drinking coffee and all this stuff. So, and then I woke up from the dream, and so it was just probably maybe 2 days later, in real life, in reality, I took a hike down to this wooded patch that was in my neighborhood. This was in Arkansas when I was living in Arkansas. And so there was a place that I had just discovered, and I would frequent and visit just to get out in the woods. And I went out there, and I just, my heart was just bursting open. I was just really filled with so much love. And I found this stand of trees, 4 different trees, and I stood in the center of them, and I sang the song Hallelujah. And I had my eyes closed while I was doing this. And I'll tell you, my heart was really into it. And I don't even know why I was doing that, but I felt drawn to do so. And when I opened my eyes, when the song was over, right there in my face is a Sasquatch. And I was like, I had to back up to look at him to see what I'm looking at, you know. And I was like, oh, hi, you know. I didn't feel any bit of nervousness or anything like that. And I knew he was just there appreciating me. And so I get a closer look at him, and I realized that this is the Sasquatch that was drinking coffee in the dream. And so he told me his name is George, and you know, and we actually had like a full conversation. That doesn't always happen, you know. A lot of times it's just messages that come in, but it was really a back and forth conversation. And he wanted me to follow him into a portal area. And I had to go back home. I was on my son was like about to wake up from a nap, or I don't really remember the exact situation, but I had to get home, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I really want to go with you, but I can't, and human responsibilities, you know? And I said, do you want to come home with me? And he goes, okay. And so we walked back to my home, and he followed me the whole way. And then, you know, so I was like, is this really happening, you know? And I went back into the house, and I said, well, come on in, I'll introduce you to my family. And as soon as I walked through the front door, he was gone. He was just gone. So I was like, okay, well, thanks for walking me home. And, you know, but that experience was just so incredible to me. And so he's one of my guides that's, I feel the closest to, and he's with me like all the time, and he's very fun and jovial, and likes to pull little pranks sometimes and make me laugh, and gets really excited whenever there's something that I'm excited about even. So he's just a wonderful support. So I will go ahead and go into the second part of my talk here. Did everybody get their necklaces and their little cards?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is some information that has been shared with us from the Sasquatch through a gentleman named Seth Buoymaster that lives in Hollywood Hills, Florida. And he also made a lot of those products back there, the tapestries and the pillowcases, these little, the little laminated cards, all of these different items. So I'll go over those with you a little bit later. But all of these things, the prisms. So what you have, the pendants and the laminates, and these other items that are for sale, the prisms and water bottles. Oh, by the way, I set up a raffle table. Forgot to mention that. So anybody that want a Sasquatch Message to Humanity book 3 is up for raffle, as well as one of these prisms that are enlivened with all these different consciousness technologies, as well as a little tapestry that he made, which is also enlivened with those different technologies. And he is an author in the 3rd book as well. So there's more of that information if you've read the 3rd book, or if you want to, you can, check out some of these different things. So basically, they're wonderful tools that we can apply that can help us to, just release some of the karmas that we have and build ourselves up, build our consciousness up more, so that we can heal. So with these different technologies, and I don't have a full list of them here because there's quite a bit to go through, but these were given by the Sasquatch, and like I said, when I say they're consciousness technologies, they worked with Seth, through his consciousness, and also, but because he's so talented in many different ways, we're able to put some things into physical tools that, we can really utilize. And so a lot of them are like affirmations and things that we can do to come more into our own sovereign selves, to, banish the idea of karma. Even though we all know, karma is a thing that exists, it doesn't have to if we don't allow it. So it's just a matter of changing our perceptions and our ideas of these different things. So what I'm going to read here is a message from various Sasquatch elders. And so in order to effectively co-create a future timeline, the command must come from an intelligent power source. The quality of the power source greatly affects the outcome. And the best power that we have is within ourselves, in our heart, in our own sovereign selves. Multi-dimensional beings, which you are, when properly tuned, provides an effective means to coalesce the infinite universal energies into constructs which we experience as realities. That's another thing I just want to touch on about realities, is that there's multiple realities. It's not just one that we're all living. We're all living our own reality, but there's an unlimited amount of probability realities, and we create those ourselves. We create them with our mind. So while a lot of people are sure that the earth is going to be destroyed, and a lot of people are sure that it's not, they're both right. They're both right, because whatever you think is what it's going to be. So that's why it's really important to be in control of our thoughts and use discernment and discrimination in so many different ways, because there's a lot of things trying to trick us, a lot of things trying to sway us and say, oh, no, you've got to go this way because that's bad, when, really their idea is not what would be in our highest good. So we just have to really sit with it, meditate on it, ask the elders or whoever your guides might be, the angels, or whoever, to assist in those kinds of ways, so that we can be sure that we're taking action that's in our highest good. Once tuned and empowered, the feeling, knowing, visualization, and commanding of the end result provides a blueprint for the morphogenic fields to transform into. When you choose to manifest the commandments, experience the waves of energy that manifest reality. And what commandments he means here are affirmations or intentions that we will state here. Okay. When you choose to manifest with the commandments, experience the waves of energy that manifest that reality. Breathe through the entire process using your breath to allow the energies of your unique signature to co-create with your fellow humans and elders. For those of you that are sensitive enough, you will be experiencing the effects of each step, proving to yourself that what you're doing is effective. What is being offered here is a co-creation for manifesting a timeline of loving, unobstructed ascension life. All of the 34 states of perfection emanating from the necklaces and the enlivened objects that you're wearing are tuning as you speak, or as we speak, as I speak, as we listen. Okay. If you don't have one, well, I think everybody got one, right?
I did it, but I didn't realize that we got two. Like
Oh, well,
each,
it's
so-
one of, yeah, whichever, if you want we had the pendants and then these. Did you got one?
No, I didn't realize, I just thought it was one or the other.
It is, yeah, okay. But you have one? Okay. Okay. The importance of this co-creation is that the future is up to us and what we choose to experience. The manipulators of the planet don't want you to know that you are being used to co-create their agendas. They do this by movies, books, TV shows, songs, and the unheard and seen manipulations. A timeline without being exploited and unobstructed in any way is imperative if we are to get on with our lives and allow others to get on with theirs. Now that you understand the predicament of the unpredictability of the future because there is so much conflict, the time is now to solidify for real the loving, unobstructed ascension life timeline. And that is the name of one of the consciousness technologies. What you're going to be doing today isn't a joke or a waste of time. It's going to be a part of your legacy of a true service to others' commission that you came here to fulfill. In order to do this, we offer an outline for you to empower and co-create the timeline of loving, unobstructed ascension life. So, we will do this together with what I read. I will pause after each statement that I make so that you can tune in to say that yourself. You could either repeat it out loud if you wish, or just repeat it to yourself, but I'm going to give you time to really feel those words and to put them in. So the first step, the first part is releasing the grip phase. So to release the grip of another fall timeline, fall meaning not ascension, but falling. So the grip of another fall timeline that is trying to hijack the ascension timeline. This is doing our part to assist in the honoring of free will. Those that choose fall will fall. Those that choose to ascend will ascend. This is love in action. Making for a clean break assists in perfection to manifest, and yes, you are the ones manifesting that level of perfection. This one part helps to make the transition less dramatic. So let's begin. I am pure, powerful presence.
I am pure, powerful presence.
It is commanded.
It is
A loving life without exploitation of any kind.
a loving life without exploitation of any kind.
Without corruption of any kind.
Without corruption of any kind.
Without secrets of any kind.
Without secrets of any kind.
Without selfish service to self of any kind.
Without selfish service to self of any kind.
Without dishonesty of any kind.
Without dishonesty of any kind.
Without the victim-victimizer program of any kind.
Without the victim-victimizer program of any kind.
Without denial of any kind.
Without denial of any kind.
Without disrespect of any kind.
without disrespect of any kind,
without ignorance of any kind,
without ignorance of any kind,
without low self-esteem of any kind,
without low self-esteem of any kind,
without entitlement of any kind,
without entitlement of any kind,
without conflict of any kind,
without conflict of any kind,
without greed of any kind,
without greed of any kind,
without fear of any kind.
without fear of any kind.
Great, thank you. Now, you can feel the shifts as the remembrances and your vision of life without all of this comes into the moment. So just integrate that for a moment. Take a deep breath into your nose. Hold it in your lungs for a couple seconds and then breathe it out through your mouth. Okay. So the next phase is to co-create the ascension time. So you can repeat this after me as well. The timeline of loving, go ahead because it's so long.
The timeline of loving,
Unobstructed, ascension life, right now and forever.
right now and forever,
Where a completely sovereign life is lived by all.
where a completely sovereign life is lived by all,
Where unity and diversity and perfect love
where unity,
Diversity,
and
perfect love.
are natural expressions.
are natural expressions,
Where co-creating the highest levels
we're co-creating the highest level
of eternal life expression
of eternal life expression,
is natural and joyful.
is natural and joyful.
Now you can just take a moment to integrate that in as well. And actually I always like to end that with, so be it and so it is.
So it is, and so it is.
Okay, you can repeat this after me as well. Enliven this co-creation with perfect grace,
Enliven this co-creation with perfect grace,
perfect health,
perfect health,
perfect defense,
perfect defense,
and perfect uncorruptible effectiveness.
and perfect uncorruptible effectiveness.
Initiate and fulfill
Initiate and fulfill
perfect placement of this co-creation now.
perfect placement of this co-creation now.
And you can feel this co-creative intelligence field being perfectly placed for maximum effectiveness for all life, everywhere in existence. I'll give you just a second to integrate that too. So once you feel the energies settle from this placement, you can repeat this as well. It is commanded in the name and action
It is commanded in the name and action
of the beloved, eternal, authentic self
of the beloved, eternal, authentic self
that I am,
that I am,
that perfect transformation takes place now and forever.
that perfect transformation takes place now and forever.
Okay. May that which was just co-created
May that which is just so created
be amplified every second of every day
be amplified every second of every day
for the complete manifestation
for the complete manifestation
of this loving, unobstructed ascension timeline,
of this loving, unobstructed ascension timeline,
perfectly bringing about
perfectly bringing about
the highest and best in the
highest and best,
in the highest and best way for all.
in the highest and best way for all.
Great. All right. So we'll just give you a moment to integrate that in as well. And now we can all just affirm that we all live a loving,
We all live a loving,
unobstructed
unobstructed
ascension life
ascension life,
now and forever.
now and forever.
So be it, and so it is.
So be it, and so it is.
Wow. Hey, we all just co-created some awesome things.
Wow.
Yeah. Give yourself a Yes. So, so in conclusion, what the elders say about this is to give gratitude to yourselves for this co-creation. Well, we just did that. I didn't even read it. Okay. It is up to all of us to keep holding this beautiful timeline and nurture it with our loving thoughts and attention. Also to spread the words all over that represent this eternally living consciousness field that co-creates this timeline. When you do this again, in groups, adding your own intentions, simply make the commandments to be added to the timeline creation you did today at this gathering. This will further build the loving, unobstructed ascension life timeline. The co-creation is uncorruptible and eternal. Rest assured, only the best will be added. Thank you for your service to others' action today. Many life forms really appreciate your efforts. Love without end from our elders. So that was lovely. Seth actually sent me this material and these supplies like 2 days before our retreat that we had in Chihuahua last month, and there was not enough time to work that program into what we already had planned. So I thank you for allowing me to share all that today, and just to show you some of the things that we have over there. We have the tapestries and pillowcases available that have these technologies in them, and there's more in addition that he writes about in the third Message to Humanity book, like the time is now and the one. These are different names assigned to these different consciousness technologies. This is the one, and you can place objects on this image for 30 seconds to enliven it. And so, as well as these little cards, and there's some big ones like this as well, and you'll see that the names of the different consciousness technologies: eternal authentic self, the time is now, authentic perfection, the one, eternal authentic, oh, is that the, okay, well they're just repeating themselves, okay. So, but we have these cards and they have this circle in the middle, so the purpose of that is for us to cleanse and rebalance and reintegrate all of these technologies or consciousness into anything that we place here. So you can put your crystals on there and distribute them out, or put your food on there to purify it, you know, or your water, all of these different impurities and these things that are happening in the world right now. And so this is just a tool, you know, I mean, of course we can do that with our consciousness, with, you know, just setting that intention and saying that prayer to return something to its highest vital state, you know. For example, one thing that I wrote about in the third Message to Humanity book that the elders told me about is that just some of the debate about different subjects, such as eating meat or things like that. You know, how a lot of people are about the inhumanity to the animals, and so they don't want to eat meat because of that. But through our thought projections, through our intentions, and then also with, you know, wonderful tools like this, we can return it to that highest vital state that it once was, so that whatever you're consuming, you're not eating the animal's fear. You're not, consuming all of these different things that may be within it. I mean, of course, that's not saying don't eat rotten meat or anything like that, but you can purify it and appreciate it in all of those ways. And that's what's the most important, is to just honor and respect and to give thanks for everybody that's involved in that, not just the animal, but the farmer and the butcher and the cook and, everybody that's involved in that kind of thing. And so when we're consciously thinking about all those things, because usually you sit down, you look at your plate of food, and you just start eating without thinking where it really came from or who all was involved in putting that meal on there. So with our, our consciousness, just be more aware of all those things. And that's really kind of the first step, is awareness. It's always the first step to change. And so lastly, there's also these oracle deck of cards that Seth has had made up. It explains all of these different technologies, and so these decks also have the circle here, but they work like, whatever it is that you're needing, like how most oracle decks are, just show me the card that I need to see the most right now. And so, perfect defense, perfect self-discipline. It says to amplify, affirm, I am perfect self-discipline. I am perfect self-worth. I am perfect victory. So they're just to help keep us on track with all of that. And I'll tell you, I've looked at this deck over, quite a few times, and I've done the same thing. Just show me what I need to know right now, and I always pull exactly the card that I need to at that time. Perfect reminder of, just where we might be falling and where we can be lifted. So, well, that's really all I have. And so, I really appreciate you all participating in this, and this way it'll give us a chance to take a little bit longer break and just chat with each other or check things out. Again, I did set up a table over there with a few raffle items, so if you wanted to enter into the raffle to win something, I'll be sitting over there now. So, thank you all.
Okay, so we'll take another 20-minute break. Around 5:02 we'll start getting ready for the last presentation.
You got lots of